Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. We're going to talk about tax lien and tax deed investing and why foreigners all over the world are actually scooping up deals in America on American real estate. And it's sad to say that most Americans have zero clue what tax lien or tax deed investing is, how lucrative it can be. And I'm going to explain why and how foreigners, people that are not American citizens, are investing in American real estate and buying things for pennies on the dollar, or they're deciding to make insane rates of return on their money. To give you an idea, you can make anywhere between 15 and 36% on your money investing in tax liens in America. And you don't have to live, and I'm going to be honest with you, I hear this a lot of times. Like people tell me, hey, I live in California, that's a tax deed state. That means I can't get, the interest rate you're talking about. I said, yeah, exactly. You go buy a tax lien in Arizona or a tax lien in Colorado or a tax lien in Florida. You could buy them anywhere in the US. Well, I'm going to talk about how, and I'm about to film this lesson for the course on how investors outside of America can do this. Now, this may upset a bunch of Americans, but quite frankly, even the Americans are not taking advantage of this incredibly lucrative way of investing that is guaranteed by the US government. And when I could say guaranteed, it's because what happens is through a certain process, if you are not paid back your investments plus the rate of return and all penalties involved that the state that you're investing in says you're due, there is a process to be able to take the property. I know it sounds crazy, but the actual investment it's the only investment that is guaranteed to an investor like yourself to be able to actually get the property if all else fails. Now that comes at an additional cost and things like that. But so let me do this. Let me be talking about taxes because this is really big for foreigners. And so I got to give this disclaimer. I'm not a tax professional. I'm not a legal professional. Okay. None of this is investment advice. I'm just a dude, a bro hawking a dream and a guy that invests in different ways that makes really great rates of return. And it's this sort of system where a lot of people say it's too good to be true. Well, the reason why is because for centuries, this has been going on for a couple hundred years, just so you know. And a lot of people don't believe in it because of the rates of return. When they're getting 2% or 3% in their bank account right now, you can actually get 18, 36% off of this type of investing. They say it's too good to be true. That's how I invest. I like those kind of scenarios, right? So, and the truth is people charge like thousands and thousands of dollars for these courses. I'll put a link down to my courses on this. I have a bundle of two courses, Tax Lien Pro and Tax Foreclosure Master, which is about tax deeds. And the link is good for a few more days because I'm in Thailand actually talking to people. I'm here talking to people that invest in American tax liens. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. And so that link's down below. It's good for a few more days. I'm just thrown off with the time change and everything. I literally jumped on a plane last minute to come here because of this. Okay, so again, not tax advice. I'm going to break down. I'm going to use my script that I'm preparing right now for foreign investors and how they can invest in tax liens. Okay, so I'm going to go over it. Of course, this is a non-edited video with not a lot of production put into it. It's just me talking to you live. But a lot of people are asking this, and I'm actually setting up for videos with an attorney in America that sets up entities for foreigners and all that kind of stuff. And that comes the day after Christmas. So investing in tax liens are pretty interesting because tax lien investing and tax deeds depends on what state you're in, right? About half the country is a tax lien state. The other half is tax deeds, but intermixed, there's a handful, I want to say 8 or 9, that are hybrid states that actually do both, right? And then you have redeemable deeds and some other things. I'm not going to get into all that. But when you understand that you can actually pay somebody's unpaid tax bill so that they can actually stay in the house for a little bit longer, which is called the redemption period, which gives that person, and it's set up by the state, usually it's 1 to 2 years. Sometimes it could be as much as 3 years. Sometimes in other states, it could be as little as 6 months. But that redemption period allows the person to stay in, and the county's going, look, we need our money. But you know what? We'll give you a grace period, called a redemption period, but you're going to have to pay a fine. You didn't pay your property taxes. You're the one that wanted to buy property and be a real estate owner or an entrepreneur, and so you got to pay the piper. And quite frankly, I've bidded on many real estate liens, tax liens that are held by mega wealthy people. I know it sounds crazy, but they forget to pay their tax bill too. This is how the world works. If you don't pay your credit card bill, there's a penalty. If you don't pay your vehicle registration, there's a penalty, right? Well, lots of investors from other countries are choosing to invest in American tax liens because they can get a greater rate of return on their money than they would in the stock market or where they live. Okay. So, how do they do that? Well, obviously, they're going through a process of identifying what state they want to be in, and they want to, which one has the best uh, avenue for making the most amount of money the fastest, and those two don't always come together, right? Um, and then they check for their eligibility. Now, you do not need a corporation or an entity like a limited liability company or LLC to invest in tax liens in America. A lot of times, county governments, when you sign up, you go and identify what state you want to invest in and what county you want to invest in. You then sign up, and you'll see right through the sign up process, they're like, "Hey, are you doing this as a personal person, or you yourself, or are you using an entity?" Well, in America, a lot of counties will let American citizens just use their social security number and their name to sign up, right? If you're a foreigner, they go, okay, you can use your name. You don't have to have a company, but you need something called a taxpayer identification number or employer identification number, right? So the acronyms are TIN or EIN. So the reason why is because America knows that if an investor from the outside invests and makes a great return, they may not pay taxes on those, and they do need to, right? America wants their taxes because, hey, they're going, hey, you're investing here, and you're making all this great rate of return. We want your money, so we want a portion of it. So what they do is they force you to do a TIN, and so I always suggest to people, this is not legal advice, but if you're going to go with a TIN, a taxpayer identification number, you might as well just file an LLC in America. It's much easier, and you get a pretty interesting break on taxes. You want to talk to your tax professional, but for flow-through entities right now, you actually do get a little bit of a tax break on that. You want to talk to them. And so starting one is very simple, and that's why the day after Christmas, I'm going to see an actual expert in this that has done a lot of my entity formations, and he does it at an incredible price. And I'm sure you've probably heard of Robert Kiyosaki. He has worked with Robert Kiyosaki for like 25 or 30 years, written 8 books on it. He's just incredible guy, Garrett Sutton. And so what these foreigners are doing is they will either apply for a taxpayer identification number, and then they go ahead and they invest in these deals, right? Well, these are sort of the framework or the steps they do. So they obtain the TIN, and they apply for that via the IRS if you don't have a social security number, okay? And then you complete the IRS Form W-7 and provide required documentation like your personal identification, like a passport, things like that. If you're going to do that, I highly suggest just forming an entity in America, foreign entity. And then what you do is you open a bank account in America, and it's actually very easy these days because international investors, they're just going, oh, shoot, I'll just open up a bank account in America, but that has branches where I live. So these international banks that are all over America that are also in their countries, they're going down to their local branch and saying, hey, I want to open up an account, and it'd be in America, but through this bank. Like, oh yeah, no problem. And these large foreign banks are able to do this, right? So it shows the US government, okay, you have an American bank now. And then they put some money into that, right? And then all they do is, a lot of people talk about hiring local representatives, like an attorney, but that's who I'm talking about, the attorney that would set up your LLC. And then you just find someone to file your American taxes. Now, what a lot of people have done, and I don't suggest this because you're going to lose some money, okay? So I'm going to give you a pro tip here. A lot of foreigners, like a friend of mine, he went and filed for a taxpayer identification number, the IRS. He lived in the UK, the United Kingdom, and he invested in Florida tax liens, and he made 18% on his money. He was cleaning house. Well, what he noticed is that right away, the state of Florida says, hey, we have to withhold, actually it's the federal government. The federal government says we have to withhold, I think at that time it was like 40% of your interest, right? So he was investing, let's say, $100,000, he would immediately flip it into $118,000. He was super excited. And they said, hey, out of that 18,000, we need to withhold 40%. And the reason why they do that is because they go, hey, you may not file your taxes with us. And so we're going to hold back a really good amount, right? Like the maximum amount. And if you don't file your taxes with us, then you're not going to get that back. But if he would have simply filed his taxes, which is actually very easy to do in America, at the end of the year, you have a CPA file your taxes. You just give them all the information. Hey, I invested 100,000. It turned into 118, so I'm showing $18,000 in taxable money. You go, oh yeah, in my friend's situation, he would have only been taxed about 12 to 14% of that 18 grand. And then he would have gotten all that money back, but he didn't do it, And it's these little simple steps, and it's not difficult. And if foreign investors are scooping up properties because they understand, like in Florida, I'll give you an example. You could buy a tax lien at an auction, and within sometimes as quick as a month, it gets redeemed and you get your money back. Maybe let's say it takes 3 months or 6 months, you turn right back around and you go buy an over the counter. So there are people that are making 18% 2 times, maybe 3 times a year on their money. So you could see how that just compounds into incredible returns, right? So the LLC is the way that I would suggest you go. But again, this is not legal advice, okay? However, it's pretty cool. When I was like right now, we haven't filmed the portion of that course, and that's why we're giving out these insane deals, because normally these courses cost, the cheapest course I've ever seen in this industry was $1,000. And I can say, honestly, mine will blow it away by a factor of 10. I've seen these courses as expensive as $50,000. I'm not joking, where you get like a coach and all that kind of stuff for a year. And it really upsets me. It ticks me off because people are overpaying for financial education. I don't like that. But when I filmed the portion for the entities, U.S. entities, of course, 2 lawyers went over it and watched it. And my wife used to always say, like, what makes you think you could teach a course on how to start a corporation? And I'm like, well, watch me. And so I handed it to them and they emailed me back and they're like, this is great, but you coughed in one video. That's what the attorneys told me. I'm not joking, but you coughed in one of the videos. I'm like, yeah, I sent you the raw footage. Don't worry, I'll take care of that cough. And they go, well, then other than that, it's amazing. So, and it just goes to show you, anybody can do anything they set their mind to, right? Wealthy people were not wealthy their entire life. All right. I guess unless you had a silver spoon in your mouth, but most of those kids that were, born with lots of money, usually they can't hold on to it. They turn into drug addicts and I'm sorry, I'm spinning out of control here, but you see what I'm saying. Type 1 if you agree with that. And so anyway, you need to learn how to make a lot of money. So when foreigners start these accounts, they start an LLC or they just obtain a TIN, which is incredibly easy. They go and buy these tax liens and they file their taxes with the IRS, and they get to have all the rest of that money left over. It's actually incredible, right? Well, all they do is they're registering for auctions all around the country. They're bidding on them on their laptop, probably in their jammies. And it's incredibly easy once you know the steps on how to identify where the auctions are, identify the difference between a good tax lien and a bad one, do your due diligence, and then you bid on them. And they start their bank account, they funded it, and then they're bidding on them, and they're managing that portfolio. I know people out of this country that are raking it in. They're crushing it. And the sad thing is Americans have no idea that they can do it themselves. And foreigners are out there buying American tax liens. So I'll tell you what, to anyone outside, let me ask you this too. I'm curious because I'm filming this in Thailand. I don't even know where, people are watching. Type what country you're in right now, if you don't mind, in the comment section. So I can just see where the algorithm is sharing this. And then do me a favor, no matter whether you live out of the country or in the country, if you're interested in learning how to make that kind of rate of return, or tax deed investing, learning how to buy a property for pennies on the dollar, when I'm talking about like 10, 20, 30% of its value, say, I'm interested. Just do me a favor. And because, regardless if you buy a class, right? If you buy a class from me, that's, 1/10 of the competition's price, or you learn all this stuff on the internet because it's totally free. All this information's free, right? Just I think a lot of successful people understand, like, I'd just rather buy a course, learn it right now, and start making money and learn from other people's mistakes. So I don't have to make them. You can learn all this stuff for free, okay? That's the worst sales pitch in the world, but it's true. And that's why I found my success by not scamming people. It's very important that you learn this, because very, very few, and I'm referring to like less than 5% of investors, real estate investors in America, have ever bought a tax lien or a tax deed. They've never attended an auction in person or attended an auction online. Once you learn how easy it is to find the auctions, register for the auctions, set up your entity, and start making stupid money, the quicker you're going to be wealthy. And I highly suggest you go do that. So regardless if you buy a course from me or you just go out and learn it, go do it now. Start researching it. This is in incredible times. Now, for all the foreign investors that have already purchased my course, just so you know, the foreign portion will be done by January. I'm setting it out to get done by January, maybe January 5th at the latest. But the good news is you don't have to be stressed, because what I want, the big time where the explosion, like right now, hundreds of thousands of tax liens are coming online right now. What's about to happen in the springtime is going to blow your mind. That's what I'm preparing people for, okay? So you get the enjoyment of the very low price, which this price point right now is going to go up in a couple of days because we're thrown off by the whole Thailand thing right now. Because it's going to keep going up. Because honestly, one deal and you've paid for the course. Second deal, you're in the money. That's just how I got it set up. I'm going to film those videos because this is the pre-filming discount for the the international investors. That'll be done by end of January at the latest. I hope you got something out of this. If this is something that interests you, type yes. If it doesn't, type no, just so I could go back and look at the amount of people that are like, yeah, I'd like to learn how to invest in a way that nobody invests in real estate. Like very few people do this. Right now, hedge funds are buying up tax liens like you wouldn't believe because of how profitable they are. I'm not just, and here, check this out. You want a little pro tip? Give you an example. Tax liens in New Jersey. Right now, they're being completely run by hedge funds. Hedge funds are buying them all up. And in New Jersey, it's interesting because it's a bid down process. This kind of stuff blows my mind. So let's say I'm blanking on the percentage rate in New Jersey right now. Put it down below if you guys know. Anyway, let's just pretend it starts at 15%. And then it's a bid down, right? I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. It's late. So as you're bidding them down, you could bid all the way down to zero. And in New Jersey, they go, hey, in certain counties, they go, look, if you get a tax lien at 0%, zero, we're actually going to impose a penalty and you're guaranteed a rate of return. I want to say it's 5%, but I'm just talking in layman's terms here so everyone can understand this. So these hedge funds are really smart. They know what Americans are going to do. And so they're going, well, I want the maximum amount, or maybe I'll deal with a couple percent less. I'll take 10 or 12% rate of return. What they do, hedge funds go zero, and they bid to zero, knowing they're going to get that penalty at 5%, which is a great return, right? It's pretty fast return, and it's a lot quicker than a bond or a treasury, right? And so everyone's going, oh, I'm getting outbid. Why would anyone want zero? Well, it's because they're going for the guaranteed 5% return. And there's little things like that people just don't understand. And then there's places like in Arizona where you get up to 36% on your money. That is life-changing money when you roll it over. Compounding interest is honestly, I think, was it not Benjamin Franklin? Who was it? Tom Sawyer? Not Tom Sawyer. That's a book, a kid in a book written. Mark Twain. Was it Mark Twain that said one of the eighth wonder of the world should be compounding interest? Boy, I'm probably butchering that one, but it's true. Compounding interest is incredible. And when you invest in tax liens over and over and over again in a 1-year cycle, you're compounding interest. And we're not talking about 3-4% that you're making in a money market account. We're talking about 18, 20, 36% each time. This is a big way of making money. So yeah, for everyone that's interested, if you want, you can learn all this on the internet for free. How do you like that crappy sales approach? Or if you want a life hack and a time hack and you want to learn from people that have done it before and won and lost, and you're going to learn from all their mistakes and their failures, and you're going to have it all in one thing, the pre-filming or the mid-filming bundle link is down below. I hope you got something out of this. To all of my foreign investors, those lessons will be done for you, the foreign portion, by the by the end of the first week in January. Hope you got something out of this. The Economic Ninja is out.